Hello again, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Finding Fire podcast. My name is Ryan Miller, your host for this episode. And today, you're going to hear from Kyle Hall, Director of Operations and Lead Performance Specialist at ETS Performance, a new sports facility in Duluth, Minnesota. During this episode, we talked to Kyle about what ETS is, how it's truly a one-stop shop for young athletes looking to perform at the top of their game, and how this translates beyond sports. So we get really in-depth, very inspiring conversation with Kyle, and he also talks about how he found his passion for doing this. So can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Again, follow us at Finding Fire Podcast, and be sure to leave us a review. Buckle up.
Go ahead, start us off.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time to sit down with us today. ETS Performance, new fitness facility to the Duluth area. Kyle, can you fill us in on what ETS is all about and what it is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you the day one rundown. So ETS, I get a lot of questions of what does that stand for? Very simple. Our owner and founder, his name is Ryan Engelbert. Our headquarters location is in Woodbury, just on the east side of the cities there. And ETS stands for Engelbert Training Systems, so Ryan's last name, Training Systems. And what we offer is a customized sports-specific training facility for all ages in all sports, but we specialize in that age between 8 to 18, 8 to 21, kind of that sixth grade up through our college athletes. And what makes us unique and different is every single athlete that trains within our facility is created their own customized training program. So the first thing that we have to do is we need to see a baseline assessment, see how well our athlete is moving. So we'll bring them in here during a scheduled time with myself. We'll take a look at their sprinting mechanics, see how well they're moving, their change of direction, which a lot of programs don't focus a lot on change of direction. They just focus so much on running in a straight line, right? Well, athletics, we're moving all over the place. So we need to be able to change directions, move east, west, north, south, as I like to say. And then we'll take some measurements. We'll see how their vertical jump is. We'll do a standing and a running jump, a 10-yard dash. So we're not big on 40s because, again, it's all about acceleration, change of direction. So we want to see how well that athlete can explode and get moving from a standstill, basically. And then we'll do our pro agility drill, see how well we change directions. We'll go through a strength assessment, our push-ups, and all of our athletes love our pull-up testing. Every time I say we're going to do our pull-ups, they give me that look like, no. Like, don't worry about it. We're just seeing how we're moving.
Yeah.
And then the back half of that, to me, is extremely important for the athlete. Sometimes I say it might be a little bit boring for them, but we go through a mobility assessment, see how well their ankles are moving, their hips are moving, their shoulders are moving, because it's all about mobility. How well can that athlete move? We want to make sure they can move correctly and move efficiently. So a lot of our younger athletes come in and all they care about is how much weight I can push. All they care about is how much weight I can put on the bar, right? Well, you're an athlete. We have to be able to move. We have to be able to change directions. We have to be able to explode. So yes, weight is a factor, but it's not our number one factor as far as what we want to gain for that athlete. So we take all of that information. We'll sit down with mom and dad afterwards. So obviously they want to know what's going on and go over our scheduling and our programs and all that fun stuff. So I take all that information and I write a customized training program for that athlete, whether we want to come in 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, whatever that may be. And every session, we will have our strength training included, our power training, our mobility and flexibility, our speed and agility, and if we need it at the time, our conditioning as well. We don't need a condition every single day. We need a condition about 4 or 6 weeks before our season starts. That's all we need to get them prepared. So we have a cap limit as to how many athletes can train in here at any given time. It's quality over quantity. So we do not exceed 20 athletes in here at any session. I have myself and I have 4 other coaches that are with me to make sure every athlete is being spotted, they're being watched, they're doing everything correctly and safely. So we're not gonna just give a program to somebody and say, good luck, go do it. That's not what we're all about. You are always going to be coached on the floor at all times, and we're gonna progress safely, and we're gonna move to the next technique, the next exercise once we feel that athlete is ready. Considering that age group that we work with, we deal with a lot of athletes that have never been in the weight room before. They have no idea what they're doing in here. That's fine. That's what we're here for. We have some athletes that have a few years experienced in the weight room. But in my opinion, it's funny, we get some juniors, seniors like, oh, I'm experienced. I've been in the weight room. I know what I'm doing. How old are you? 17. You're not experienced in the weight room. I'm sorry. You're not. I've been lifting for 15 years, and I still, in my opinion, I don't call myself a very advanced lifter. I feel like that takes 25, 30 plus years before I would consider you an experienced lifter. So everyone that's in here, we always have something to grow from. We have something to learn, but most importantly, it's about safety. We want to make sure they're doing it right. They're doing it correctly. And like I said before, a lot of times it's pulling back on the weight a little bit to make sure we're getting full depth, make sure we're doing everything safely, and we progress accordingly.
I like that you keep using the word athlete and not and client in a good way. Like, I feel like that's part of the culture here, right?
Yep.
Like we're athletes here. We're not just another client. Like you said, you're going to have programs tailored to that individual. That's really cool.
Exactly. And athlete, we're all athletes at some degree, right, Ryan? Yeah. We're all athletes. So,
used to be.
8-year-old, 35, whatever.
Yep.
And partly why I use that word is styles of training is a lot different. So we have our power lifters, we have our athletic performance, we have our bodybuilding. They're not the same thing. Right? So we are not going to train like a bodybuilder in here. We're athletes. We have to move. It's not about size. It's not about bulking up. Now, if an athlete needs to do that because of a position or where we're at, of course, we'll focus on that as well. But we're about becoming as efficiently as we possibly can to be the best athlete that we can. And with that, there is a crossover of exercises. There's a crossover of some things that we'll do, but we don't write a program to be a bodybuilder or a power lifter. Once you're 18, 25, 35, whenever that time comes, when you're no longer participating in team activities, now we can talk about maybe bodybuilding or power training or things like that. But that's one thing that we try to stress to our athletes, and mom and dad want to know that as well too. So we get a lot of young athletes in here. The first question they ask is, you're not going to put a bunch of weight on my athlete's back and just have them do 1-rep maxes all the time. No, we're not going to do that. We're not power lifters, we're athletes. And plus, how old is he again? 13? Okay, it's going to be a while before we get there. You know what I mean? So it's all about safety, but we want to do it right, and we want to train like an athlete.
What's the youngest athlete you train in the facility?
So we go as young as 6 or 7. We kind of on our marketing materials, our websites, we have our Speed Plus program, which is 8 through 11-year-olds. But we've had some 6 and 7-year-olds come in if we feel they're ready to handle that. Now, obviously, they're kids. We know they're kids. And we want to make sure it's fun and they have a great time in here. But some 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds are a little bit more ready to handle that than others. So we get they're going to be running around and having fun, but if they can, they can take the coaching, they can do the things that we ask them to do. I don't care about the age. They're ready to do it. But again, we understand, the 6, 7, 8-year-old, where they're at.
Right.
But typically our Speed Plus program is focused on teaching our athletes how to run correctly, sprint mechanics, how to change directions properly. And then we'll start teaching them body weight movements, pull-up position, push-up position, squats, lunges, things like that, where we're not really adding external weight, bands and weight. We're not really doing that yet. But it's basically teaching them all the right movements. So once they get to 11, 12, now we can start bumping them up and start adding a little bit of external resistance so they can continue to progress. But we don't want to load them up at that young age. There's a lot of variables that come into play there. But it's about, again, teaching them the right way and making sure they enjoy it as well. A lot of, over my experience with college athletics and high school, a lot of coaches use exercise as a punishment. So, hey, you missed a shot. Give me 20 push-ups. So now you're telling a 6-year-old, yep, hey, exercise is bad. I missed a shot. I got to do an exercise. We want to retrain that. We want to teach them exercise should be fun. Everyone should do it. Even if you're not an athlete, you should still exercise. Find something you enjoy. This is a long-term commitment. This is something that's going to benefit you in the long run. But we want to teach those younger athletes that this is not a bad thing. This is a good thing, and we want them to enjoy and have fun while they're doing it.
That's awesome. I love it. You've kind of talked about doing things correctly, form, improving mobility, directional running. Mm-hmm. What benefits for somebody that's listening is like, that makes sense. But what benefits does that give you as an athlete currently, and then for the longevity of your playing career?
Yep. So the longevity, it's an easy response. It's our number one concern is to keep that athlete healthy and keep them to play. So I talk to a lot of parents about this as well too, is, I ask them and then I ask the athlete, what makes a good strength and conditioning coach good? And you get a lot of different responses. Well, my bench press goes up 50 pounds. Great, that's awesome. My vertical goes up 3 inches. Good, that's awesome. My 40 time goes down. All those things are great, right? Mm-hmm. But if we're always injured and we're never playing, none of that matters. So great, my bench press went up by X amount of weight, but I keep getting hurt, so I'm not playing. So does that make the program good, or does that, there's kind of a little wiggle room in there. So obviously, yes, we want all those variables to increase. We want to become a better athlete. We want to be more explosive. But to us, we are teaching our young men and women how to have a proper work ethic, how to work for something, because everything is going to translate into life when they get older. Your career, being a husband, a wife, whatever that may be, you're going to have to apply yourself. You're going to have to be committed. You're going to have to push through obstacles and adversity. But as far as a sense of what it is that we truly want to do for our athletes, we want to keep them healthy. We want to keep them on the field, right? We want to make sure they're participating in every practice, every game. Because I had injuries when I was younger, and the worst thing in the world is when you're standing on the sidelines and you're watching your team, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, there's things you can do. You can help coach and guide and all that. Mm-hmm. But in the sense of playing, I can't get out there, because my body's not ready. We want to make sure your body's ready to handle that. In a sense of making sure we do everything correctly. So the little things, the details is what we're all about, okay? Hey, that looked pretty good, but it could be better. If we do this, it would be better. If we do that, it would be better. And the little things are what we focus on. The little things to make sure that extra step, we can get to that ball just a little bit faster. Maybe we need to, increase our miles per hour on our fastball by 2 to 3 miles per hour. That's going to make us a little bit better. And that's those little things that's going to get us there, right? A lot of little things built over and over and over is going to get to the big goal. And we're not going to get there in 10 days. We're not going to get there in 2 weeks. We're not going to get there in 2 months. This is a longevity. This takes time. And this is what we try to instill in our parents and our kids. This is a lifetime commitment, not just at ETS, but overall, we're going to teach you skills that are going to transfer over to everything in life. And that's our number one goal, is to build and help mature young men and women from when they get older, it can be the best possible adult they can be. And that's our longevity goal.
That's awesome. I love how it's just outside of athletics, but into your personal life. Like you said, you're a husband with 2 kiddos, or you're just outside of your sports teams, and all those, even those quick movements too. Like a lot of the times you get injured that way. Like you can come in power lift, but like you do a quick twitch or a quick move. You're like, oh.
It just takes one wrong movement. That's all it does. And that's why, again, it's in the details. It's in the little things. And, as far as in the sense of, again, a lot of what I'm talking about to my kids and parents, I'll relay back to you guys as well.
Yeah.
Most injuries occur when we slow down, not when we speed up, not when we when we're changing directions, we're typically slowing down, right? Mm-hmm. So, we see a lot of our younger athletes come in and they've never been taught how to slow down correctly. They've never been taught how to efficiently absorb their own weight when they land on a jump or they slow down and change directions.
Yeah.
So I can't teach you how to be explosive until I can teach you how to slow down first. Once we slow it down and everything looks great, we're able to absorb, we're able to stabilize. Now I can teach you how to explode. And a good example we always see is when kids kind of do their counter movement to jump, we see their knees just buckle inside. They're not able to absorb that, right? Mm-hmm. We can do all the jump training in the world. If we don't correct that, we're not going to see the results that we want to see. And eventually our knee is going to say, I don't want to do this anymore. You're putting a lot of stress on my knee. Something's going to happen. So we're going to slow it down. We're going to teach you how to absorb first. Keep those knees out. Keep that weight good and shifted. Absorb through the hips. Then we can teach you how to explode. So we have to slow it down first before we can speed it up. Now that's where the programming comes in. If I get a 17-year-old, a 20-year-old, whatever, and we see that in the eval, that they're already absorbing weight efficiently, great, we don't need to work on that. We're going to move on to the next step and so on and so on. So we want to make sure, again, as we always say it, we want to lay that foundation first, make sure we're stable, and then we progress accordingly. But we're never going to skip from step 5 to 9 because the athlete wants to. We're going to do it correctly because, again, this is a longevity goal. We don't want to skip any steps and something may happen. We want to do it correctly. Mm-hmm.
So when you have a class of 20 max, is each individual athlete working on their own plan and you guys are just going around correcting and building them up?
Absolutely. So the only thing that every athlete does the same thing of is our warm up at the beginning. So for example, like today I have a session at 3:15. So we might have 7, we might have 10, we might have 13. Again, we don't exceed 20. 20 is our max. Now, we typically average here at Duluth, we're still a couple months open. We average probably around 9 or 10 athletes per session. And then we have anywhere from 3 to 6 coaches on staff at all times to make sure we have enough eyeballs on every one of our athletes. Mm-hmm. So at 3:15, I open the door. We do not let kids come in early. Okay? It's about discipline, doing it right. We come in together as a crew. We're training together. Well, we have our own individual goals, but we're training together. There's something about training together, the camaraderie and the rapport that's built. It's just awesome. The atmosphere is incredible. We crank the music up in here. We have a great time. But we're still making sure we're doing the things we want to do. So we bring all of our athletes in together, we line them up on the turf, and we do our 10 to 12 minute dynamic warm up together. Make sure the blood's pumping, make sure the muscles are working correctly, get a good sweat going. After the warm up, every athlete will go grab their folders. Every athlete has created their own individual training program, right? Hence the eval, what we did at the beginning. No athlete will start training until they do an eval. I'm not going to just write a blind program for somebody because I don't know how they're moving. I don't know their progressions. I don't know anything. That is what makes us unique. They have to do an eval so we know how well they're moving. And I'll jump the gun here a little bit. Every athlete will be retested every 3 to 4 months as well. So those initial numbers, 10-yard dash, vertical, all that fun stuff. After 3 to 4 months of training, we will schedule a time where we retest those numbers. Then that's the fun time where we can see, hey, look at this, your vertical went up 3 inches. Hey, look at this, we shaved off 0.2 of a second on your 10-yard dash. That's when it gets fun. That's when the athlete goes, oh, wow, this does work. It's actually doing something for me, you know? The eyeball test is great. I feel faster. I know I'm getting stronger, but we want to see data. And every single program, every single retest, we store that. We never get rid of any material. We want to keep that on file at all times. We have tons of these filing cabinets at our gyms just loaded with material and data because we're not getting rid of that stuff. Yeah. It's really cool when we have an athlete that's 12 and now they're in college and we grab their folder and we go, hey, Johnny, you want to see what you were doing 7 years ago? You know, they look it up like, oh, wow, I was dumbbell benching 10s. Now I'm throwing 110s around like nothing. You know what I mean? It's like, yep, see how that takes time, right? So after that warm up, they go grab their folder and they open that up. They have their speed work, their strength training, their power training, their mobility. All that is built in at each and every day. And we have that every day. There's never a day where we're just lifting. There's never a day where we're just doing speed work. Now, there's days where we might have more lifting than others, more speed work than others. But again, like we talked about earlier, we're athletes. We're not bodybuilders. The whole package. Mm-hmm. And sometimes some of my 14 to 18-year-old boys forget that the whole reason we're doing this is so we can play better on the field. If you lift all the time and we don't go do any speed work, we're kind of missing the point of what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
I relate it to a basketball player. If I strength trained for 4 months, I would still be shooting when I'm strength training, right? Otherwise, after 4 months, I grab a ball and I let one rip. That's going to feel pretty weird, right? So we got to get some shots up still while we're lifting. Same concept. We got to get our speed work in while we're strength training. I don't need you to do it every day, but we still need to do that. Typically, what I want them to do is 1 to 2 speed sessions a week if possible, okay? So now we can take that newly gained strength and power and we can transition that to the field, to the court, whatever that may be, right? So myself and my staff, we're all on the floor, spotting, critiquing, coaching, we're walking around, and how I like to do it is, obviously you guys see the layout of our gym. We have our racks over here, we have our dumbbells over there, we have our sleds in our turf area. I will take 1 or 2 of our coaches and I will assign an area to them. And those coaches will stay in that area and they'll spot and coach every athlete in that area. And then after about 10 or 15 minutes, what I like to do is I have my coaches kind of rotate around as well too. So we're not just stuck on the racks the whole time. We want the whole package for us as well too, right?
Yeah.
So we will move in unison with the coaches. And why I do that is if I have 6 athletes over here in the dumbbell area and I have 2 on the squat area, if Johnny, I always use Johnny as an expression. If Johnny walks all the way over to me and asks me a question, now he's going to pull me away from the rack, which is why I keep coaches over there as well too. So we keep them in their areas, and the kids are going to be rotating based off of their programs, what they're doing, and so are we. So we want to make sure kids are being watched, kids are being spotted. That's another rule I have. Any athlete that is on the barbells, I don't care if you're 14 or 35, you are spotted if a bar is on you, if you're squatting, front squatting, back squatting, bench pressing. I don't care, you are being spotted. It's about safety, like we said earlier before, right? Things happen, they happen very quickly, and we are going to prevent that as much as we possibly can, okay? Now, I will let some of our older athletes, like our college athletes, spot each other because they know what they're doing a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But if I ever look over and see a 14-year-old spotted by a 13-year-old, I'm running faster than a 4 or 5 over there, which I've never ran in my life, right?
Right.
And I'm spotting them because they don't know what they're spotting yet. They don't know what they're doing. And that's part of what we're trying to teach our kids too. During our lifts, during our programs, we'll do little things. We'll teach kids how to spot properly, how to spot on a dumbbell bench press, how to spot on a squat, how to do these things that they're going to be utilizing when they get older as well too. Because it's about educational aspect as well too. We want to teach them how to do things long term. It's not just come in here, we're going to tell you to do everything. We want you to learn as you go. And the whole concept is, right now, if I tell little Johnny, hey, I want you to go do 4 sets of 8 at a 3:01 tempo with a 90-second rest, he's going to look at me and go, what the heck are you talking about? In 3 weeks, he's going to go, okay, I got it. And then we progress to the next thing and the next thing. But we are still here to spot them, to help them every step of the way. And once they feel like they have a good grasp on things, like, okay, I know what I'm doing, now we change it all. And now they're walking up to you like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Great, that's what we're here for. Okay, that's what we're here for. So if I give you a program and you do it for 2 weeks and now you go, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. No, you don't. You just know how to do those few things. But over the long term, there's an end goal. There's a reason why we're doing this, right? And our job is to know when to push, when to pull back, when to change exercise selections, when to change movements. That is where we come in. And our experience and our training through Ryan, that's been unbelievable, is where we come in and we can see how well an athlete's moving. We can see how physically mature and mentally mature the athlete is, and that's going to make adjustments as well too. So what I mean by that is, we have some 13-year-olds right now that are like 6'5". It's like, holy cow. Okay.
Give me some of that.
Yeah. It's like, all right, physically you're maturing pretty well. Okay. But you're still 13. So mentally, I know there's still some things we need to work on, right? And a lot of times that can kind of cloud your vision a little bit, where you look at an athlete and you're like, man, he's 6'5", 230. And then you start to run a program and you're like, wait, okay, he's 13. So I need to remember that. Let's pull back a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, let's kind of see. Or we'll kind of have them do a movement and we're like, yep, we're not ready for that yet. We're going to do this, right? Yeah. So it's about seeing that and adjusting. And there's a lot of adjustments on the fly. And this is a lot we get. We'll get kids that, Coach, I rolled my ankle last night, or, I jammed my thumb or whatever. Like, what can I do? Great, come on in. Part of my job is to adjust and accommodate based off of those things. And you guys know, you're never going to be 100% after a while, right? Yep. There's always something going on.
Something's aching. Yeah.
There's something achy, right? So we take that into consideration as well, too. So, I have an athlete right now, he's still training with a broken wrist. I have athletes that come in with dislocated shoulders. So obviously we're going to leave that part of their body alone, but we're still going to train. There's still things we can do to keep them progressing. And part of our job is to make sure we're doing that correctly, right? So everyone has excuses. Everyone has reasons why they can't do this. And I always like to say, everyone wants to do this, but very few are committed to do it. So, that place is awesome. We want to go in and we want to see it. I want to start training. We schedule something. Oh, I can't make it. I'm really tired. Or, I just do this thing at home on my own. It's like, okay, like if you really want to do this, let's do it. Okay. And I can attest to all of our athletes, when you get in here and you do your first session, the environment, the coaching, it's unbelievable. And once we get our athletes in here and try us out, they're hooked, because we really do offer a product that is uncommon, as we like to say, because of those variables that we can give. And I don't want 50 athletes in here. I cannot watch quality coaching with 50 athletes, which is why we cap it, and which is why we make sure everybody is getting what they need to get to progress on their own.
I was going to say, just the whole relationship building aspect of it, I think is huge too. Like Matt and I came to the open house here and we were talking offset about this, but you knew everybody. There's 120 people here. Yeah. You knew everybody by name. And I just think everything that you just said, coming in, working out together, but then you have, warming up together, but then they have their own plans, but then the coach is rotating. So they get to know each coach on an individual basis. There's not that like intimidating factor, or you're walking into a gym and people are squatting and you're like, oh gosh, okay, now I got to go start over here.
Yep.
With a coach that I don't have a relationship with really. And then it just kind of, there's more pressure on their shoulders. Yep. They're scared, so they're not going to get the best out of themselves.
Exactly.
So here, that seems like that's just kind of taken away right away, almost.
And we're dealing with kids, so a lot of times, I get 12, 13-year-old Johnny again. That's always my example. They step foot in here during a session, and you can see they're like, whoa, what is this place? Mm-hmm. What I love about my staff and what I teach my staff is during the eval, that is for us to gather information, of course, right? But what I see it as is mom and dad and the athlete come in. They get to see our gym. They get to meet myself and my coaches. They get to see firsthand what this is. And after about 10 minutes, they'll start relaxing a little bit. I understand you walk in here with a session of 12 or 13. It's a little intimidating first, right? So when I do evals, I take them off on the side. I get to know the kid a little bit. I get to know the athlete. I say kid, athlete, it's the same thing. Yeah. Sometimes I say kid or athlete. But I want them to get comfortable first, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes that takes an hour, sometimes that takes a few weeks, sometimes that takes a month. But we are now 2 months open, and we are now seeing the true personalities of our athletes. The first couple weeks, they're a little bit hesitant. What's this place? What's that? What are we doing? Now, I was just talking with my staff member last night. Now we know who each other really is, right? Yeah. We're seeing who they really are, how they really act. And part of that is we got to keep them in line a little bit, make sure they're doing things we ask them to do. But I completely am okay with athletes joking around and having fun with each other. But when we get during that set, you're doing what you need to do 100%, right? During our rest periods, like, hey, we can have fun, we can make sure we're enjoying it, but I want you to make sure you're getting everything you need to be doing. But that eval process, I feel, is so important to just help that athlete relax and understand that, yes, there are going to be other athletes in here training with you, but they're not doing what you're doing, and they're not watching you. You know, a lot of athletes, are they watching me? Like, they're not watching you. Like, don't worry about it. You know what I mean? And still, we have some that are a little bit more, you know, it takes a while. And I will gladly kind of set them up in the corner of the room until they feel comfortable. You know, okay, we'll get away. And kind of like I said before, during the eval process, a lot of athletes are really hesitant on doing pull-ups because they can't do a lot of pull-ups, right? So, hey, we're going to go do our pull-ups. You know, they kind of look at you and, I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, well, why? Well, I can't do a pull-up. I'm like, don't worry about it. There's things we can do. And I'll wait until, you know, the area is clear or until no one's over there until we go and do that so they feel more comfortable. If they really don't want to do it, fine, no big deal. But you know what? I'm going to get you up there eventually, you know? I'm going to get you up there eventually. Pull-ups are great. They're one of the best things we can do for our upper body strength training, right? But it's about getting to know our athletes. They're not a number, you know. They're Ryan, they're Matt. I'm gonna know your brother, your sister, your parents, where they work, your dog. I'm gonna know hobbies that are not athletically related. We wanna get to know who our athletes are because, again, this isn't just strength and conditioning. We wanna be a second home away from home. We wanna be somebody that our athletes can go to if they're having a hard time. And we get this a lot. Some athletes do not want to talk to mom and dad about something that they're having a hard time with. I get kids from 7, 8, 9 years ago that still text me on the regular asking me advice. Hey, what should I do here? Just wanting to check in. In fact, the other day, obviously we won't go into detail, I have an athlete that's having a hard time. Like, she reached out to me and she wanted to talk to me. Like, great, I'm here for that, right? That's what we're here for. We want to make sure that anything going on, we can help you and progress, whatever that may be. So yes, our product is sports performance, but that's not what defines us. What we want to define ourselves is we want to build, again, that maturity and build our young men and women for future generations is what we're all about.
So now that you've been open for a couple of months now, how has the community embraced ETS?
Yeah. It's been awesome. Just building relationships. One of my main goals that I try to do is get out to as many games and practices for our athletes as possible. Just build a relationship with the community. Parents have been amazing. We're having some partnerships with some local clubs and organizations, meeting athletic directors, coaches around the area. CJ and Alex have been a great help, just kind of getting my foot in the door. So, you know, if Kyle calls somebody, they're like, who? If CJ Ham calls, they're like, oh, CJ, you know? And then, yeah, I want you to meet this guy. It's like, yeah. And we feel as soon as we have that one-on-one or that interaction, they see what we're all about. You know, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to start, you know, to talk to some people than others. But we're consistent. We're going to keep pounding. And just the community as a whole has been awesome. And I'm from here. I grew up in Esco. I graduated in 2007. I've been in North Dakota, Texas, Michigan, and now back to Minnesota. And I knew at some point I wanted to open something like this up here. When I was in high school, the weight training consisted of a coach would open the door and just say, go and lift, you know?
Same here.
Yep.
It's better than nothing, but when you put a 16-year-old boy in a weight room with his buddies, what are they going to do?
Nothing. BS.
Yeah, they're gonna BS. They're gonna max out every day. They're gonna do what they want to do, not the things that they need to do. So there's always been an end goal of opening an ETS in Duluth, always. And we have our foot on the accelerator right now. We have almost close to 25 facilities open right now in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, and we are expanding. Ryan is now at the point where we're going. We have the backing, we have the product, and we have the staff to do this. But up here, there really was nothing close to what we offer up here at all. You know, there's some CrossFit facilities, which are great. They're awesome. I love that. But specializing in that 12 to 15-year-old age group, there really isn't anything like that up here. And that's what we wanted to bring and offer, because a lot of those athletes, if they go into the weight room, They don't know what they're doing. And the coaches spend so much time with the older classmates than they do with the younger kids. Yeah. And it's easy to get wrapped up in that. It's easy. I have 10 athletes in here. I have 2 Division I athletes, and I have 8, 12 to 13-year-olds. It's very easy to go, I'm going to work with those older guys, right? No, the younger guys need more time. They need more coaching. The older guys, yes, they need direction too, but they have more experience. They know what they're, not to say they're not being coached, they are, but we need to make sure we spend more time with the younger guys, because that is what they're here for. That is what they have no clue what they're doing. The last thing we ever want to do is Johnny goes home, tells his mom, yeah, I was working out today and no one really helped me. Like, if I ever hear that, I'm going to lose my, you know what? Okay, that's not what we're all about. We're making sure that, you know, is there maybe one rep I'm going to miss? Like, yeah, you know, I might not see every single rep, but we're going to make sure they're doing everything correctly and safely. In the first probably 2 to 3 weeks, brand new athletes are literally glued to my hip, or they're glued to one of my staff members' hip. Like, everything you're doing the first 5 to 6 sessions, we're watching everything. Then you get more comfortable. I might say, hey, looks good. I'm going to go spot, you know, Jennifer real quick, and I'm going to come back and take a look at you, right? But we're never going to just throw a dumbbell at them, give them a band or whatnot, and say, hey, do 4 sets of 8. I'll see you when you're done. You know, that's not what we're all about. And I just feel like in the community, a lot of strength and conditioning programs are so focused on football oriented. It's just football, right? No, soccer, volleyball, track and field, we all need to do it, you know, and we all need to do the things that we need to do. Even within the game of football, we're going to train an offensive lineman differently than we're going to train a wide receiver, right? They both play football, but the demands of their positions a little bit different. Volleyball is different than soccer, so we want to make sure they're doing everything correctly the way that they are. I get off topic, I know I do, but the community has been awesome. I can't, you know, thank everyone that has, I mean, you guys reached out to me, right? You know, like, yeah, Ryan reached out to me. It's like, absolutely, we'll do that, you know? And Ryan wants to get some training in, you know?
That's exactly.
Ryan wants to start training a little bit. We're trying to figure out how we can work in those adults there, those athlete adults, you know?
The inner athlete out of me again.
But just, you guys are an example. Like, you guys reached out to me, and now the heater kicked on right now, so we can hear that a little bit. But
that's all right. We'll fix it.
But it's been awesome. I can't wait to see where this goes. We've been 2 months in, and every day I get more people reaching out, every day, here and there, you know, moms, dads, coaches, clubs, organizations. I have people traveling 110 miles away to come here. I have Ashland, Spooner, Cook County, Grand Rapids. You know, that's a drive. And once they came in here and they did one session, they realized, hey, this is a place that we need to keep coming. But once I feel we get them in here and they see who we are, it's a whole nother ballgame. Right? Like, this isn't, you're my 330. Nope. You're my whatever we need to do, whatever I have to do to make sure you're getting everything that you need. And furthermore, with our training, you know, we have a lot of hockey girls right now, a lot of hockey guys that are in season. Whatever we need to do to make sure they're performing at their top level, we do. So your body's beat up. Like, I still want you to train in season, right? In season training, in my opinion, is the most important thing to do. What it does is it sets up how our off season's going to look. So if I stop training in season, basically it's a plateau. I increase my strength and my power in the off season. Now my body kind of drops in season. We're just doing this wave up and down, right? In season training maintains that strength and power. So then when the off season comes, I can continue to build, right? But most importantly, in season keeps your body strong and injury resistant throughout the year. We're not going to kill you. We're not going to do all this frequency, high weight, volume. We're going to get you in, get you out. But if you're beat up and you need to come in here, we need to stretch you up. We need to do some massage care, whatever that may be, we'll do that. So whatever we need to do to make sure you're still performing at your highest level, we will. I hate when people say, oh, I can kill you. I can make you throw up. Anyone can do that. That's not the intention of what this is, right?
Yep.
There's some days we're gonna kill you. Some days, you know what I mean? But that's at a discretion of our choosing when we feel ready. But our job is to build that body up, not break it down. So,
got it. Can you not quickly talk about, but just talk a little bit about, like, even how you as an operations director here at the Duluth facility, ETS Duluth, like how you're backed by leadership, like even from the top executive, Ryan, you mentioned a few times, to like CJ Ham as a facility pro. Is that what they're called? And then to your operations. So even the athletes know that, yeah, Kyle's my guy. Like he also believes in the company as a whole.
Yep.
And what you guys are on the same, you're all on the same page, it sounds like.
Yep, absolutely. I've been involved in a couple Division I programs. I've been involved in a facility similar to this. And the unique model and setup of Ryan makes this so family oriented. I've never really been a part of a company like this. So we have 23, 24 facilities. I can't remember. We keep adding more as we go here. Every day we all talk. Every day we have a line of communication where we all interact together. And every day somebody is saying something back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, I've worked with a company prior where we had 13 facilities, and I had no idea who anyone else that worked for that company was. Nobody.
Oh.
Except my staff. That was it, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I know who the Green Bay director is. I know who the Sioux Falls director is. I know his staff. I know what they're doing. I know how well they're doing. I know how many members they have. Like, that's crazy when you think about it broken down like that. And Ryan has daily and weekly assignments he always makes us do. And sometimes we're like, Ryan, if you hear this, I love you. Sometimes we're like, man, I got so much on my plate. But I know why he's doing it. He wants us to stay sharp. He wants us to continue to learn. Because a lot of times you get into this position, all right, I'm done. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going to do this, right? There's always a new evolution of things. There's always something we can continue to learn. Like I said before, I'm 33 years old. I don't consider myself an expert yet. When I'm in my mid 40s, I'll consider myself an expert, but I still have a lot of time, a lot of things to learn, right?
Yeah.
The staff's set in place. So we have a couple of right-hand guys that we touch base with weekly, whatever we need. We have once a month, we have director calls where we all hop on a call together with Ryan for about a good 60 to 75 minutes. Furthermore, once a month on top of that, we have 5 or 6 facilities grouped together where we all hop on a call together to review how our month did, how your month did, what we can progress, what we can better, weakness areas that we need to improve on, things that we did really great on. We're huge on social media. Instagram, Facebook. Instagram's where the kids are. Facebook's where the parents are, right?
Yep.
So
100%.
we make sure we post on both of those. But really, Ryan's great. CJ and Alex are unbelievable. Obviously, CJ's a little busy right now. He's got games going on, and Alex is too. They just started the season, but they still reach out. I probably talk to Alex 2 times a week, CJ a little less because I know he's busy, but I love Alex to death, and he's prone to calling me at 10:30 at night. Like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, it's on my way home right now. Like, what are you doing, But they're awesome. They're tremendous. But really, the number one behind-the-scenes person in this company that doesn't get a lot of recognition that should is Ryan's wife, Heidi. Heidi is the engine that drives this behind the scenes. The little things that we don't think of, the little details that we take for granted is what Heidi does.
Yeah.
And when Ryan first opened ETS, he was working his butt off, like 90, 100 hours a week. And he was putting a lot of the business stuff on Heidi's shoulders behind the scenes so he can train. So really, Ryan gets a lot of the recognition.
Yeah.
But Heidi's the one that really continued to progress with us. And it's awesome to see them now able to step back because they got the right people in play, and now they can kind of slow it down a little bit. But even it's 11 o'clock or whatever. I've talked to 3 directors already this morning. We just touch base. We stay in touch. Little things,
That's awesome.
Things that tick us off, things that are great, And another thing that I love about us is we're always looking for the right people to come on board, right? We want to have the right staff before we progress. And we have such a close-knit directors group where if any one of my directors recommends somebody to be hired, I'm not going to question it. We're going to just hire them. Okay.
Awesome.
Hey, okay. You think they're ready? All right, let's do it. Let's hire them. Okay. We all trust each other. We all know, we all came from the same tree, as you can say. We've all put in our time. We've all spent countless of time of our own hours to do this, to get to where we want.
Yeah.
So if you tell me someone's ready, we're ready. We're going to do it. I'm not going to question it. Right. to me, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's just, I've never had that. I mean, I've had structure before where you touch base with, owners and stuff like that, but this just seems more like buddy, but we hold everyone accountable. We make sure, hey, you didn't have a good month last month. Like, hey, what's going on? Well, I was tired and, I just wasn't like, that's unacceptable. Like you are the role model for the kids coming up. And that's another thing we always tell our staff, check your ego at the door.
Yeah.
Okay. Last week, I had a really severe ear infection. None of my kids knew. I was struggling. I was hurting on the floor. But you know what? I worried about it when the sessions were over. Okay.
Yeah.
The kids are here for us. I don't care if you're having a bad day. I don't care if the worst thing in the world happened. Well, there's some things that are really bad that happens. But when you're in here, you are with our kids. And when the kids leave, now we can talk about it. Now we can, deal with your issue or whatever that is. But that stuff is, kids can feel that. Kids can sense stress. They can sense tension.
Kyle's not Kyle today. Sometimes he's not smiling as much.
And we don't have those days barely at all, because we see it on the kids all the time.
Right.
Okay. Hunter's not having a good day. Let's go talk to him a little bit. And then we get him joking. We mess around with him a little bit, get his spirit up. But if I have a bad day or my staff has a bad day, that stuff's contagious. It flows into the session.
Yeah.
And then if we ever sense something like that, we kind of jolt it. We do something immediately. We stop trying to get that energy up. And a good way of doing that is we crank that music up and we get things screaming, we get people moving when we need to do so, of course. We don't want to scare the kids by anyways. Right. But high energy, and I don't care what's going on, we make sure that you are bringing it, as we call it, every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
For athletes and parents, listening to this podcast, what is this one piece of advice, whether it's in athletics or life, that you can just give somebody to take that leap, to follow that passion? And that could be, whether it's starting here at ETS or whether it's getting to that next job, or what is that one piece of advice that you can help people to take that leap and just go for it?
Absolutely. I'm going to rephrase what's on the wall behind us. I love our motto: commit, overcome, conquer. I don't care what you want to do, you have to commit to it. Like I said before, everybody wants to do something, very few are committed to do it. If you want to do this, if you want to do that, commit to it and know no matter what, you're going to do it. Overcome. We always rephrase this as, you're going to hit adversity. You're going to find something that is going to prevent you from doing what you want to do. And now the excuses come, right? Yeah. Well, I'm tired. I don't want to do this. Oh, I had practice earlier today. Oh, I have to go watch my brother's dance or sister's dance recital or whatever. I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas. I don't care. Okay. You told me you want to do this. You need to make sure that the times get tough, you push through it, right? Mm-hmm. There's days where I'm tired. There's days where, I got other things going on, like I just stated before. I don't care. I chose to be here, right? As we stated before when you guys first got here, you asked me how often I'm here. I'm here 75, 80 plus hours a week. Yeah. I don't care. I don't want to be anywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. Things come up, but I have to push through it, and I have to make sure that I am committed to doing this. And conquer simple. Now, we're at our goal, we're about to achieve it, now we go for it, right? The old saying, no one's gonna give it to you, you have to earn it, okay? Mm-hmm. We can give you the tools, we can tell you what to do, but you have to make that choice. A good example is a lot of kids talk to us about nutrition, right? We have a lot of information we can give you about nutrition. We have our cool little ETS nutritional app, but legally I cannot prescribe you a meal plan, right? I can't do that. So I can give you all the tools. Okay, nutrition's a big component in this as well, but you have to be the one to hold yourself accountable to do that, right? Yeah. You made the decision, you do it. But commit, overcome, conquer, you're gonna see that in every single ETS that you walk in, okay? That is our motto, that's what we live by, and that is what we make sure that everybody makes sure that we have something, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly goal. You commit to something. It could be something super small, like I want to get an A on my test next week. It could be something I want to play college basketball, right? It's going to take time, but you better overcome whatever is going to come your way, because something will, and then we conquer it when the time comes.
That's great.
That's awesome. Kyle, I can tell just by our conversation here that you love your job, you love ETS, you're running this facility. What ultimately are you pursuing, or are you living your dream right now?
Yeah, this is it.
Nice.
I knew ninth grade, 10th grade in high school, I knew something in athletics was the direction I wanted to go. Obviously at that age, NFL, NBA, MLB, those are all conversations.
I'm still pursuing it.
Still pursuing it, 30, I got a couple years left maybe here. By 36, that's probably wrapped up. But I flirted with the coaching route, like coaching the sports side of it. I did some experience with physical therapy, athletic training, you name it. But this is what I kept coming back to, like the sports performance side of things. It keeps me engaged in the sport. It keeps me a coach. It keeps me from sitting down 9 hours a week or 9 hours a day and, putting on 30 pounds when you get older. It keeps me moving. I can't sit down at a desk all day. I just can't do it. I have to get around and moving.
Yeah.
But I always wanted to open a gym. I always wanted to be in some sort of a facility similar to this. And when I got involved with ETS, I was like, I hit the jackpot. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And I wanted to bring it back to the Northland. I wanted to come here. So is there an end goal? This is the end goal. Like, I ain't going anywhere. ETS I'm a lifer. Ryan treats us unbelievably well. We have the freedom to kind of train the way that we feel we need to. Now, there's certain guidelines and protocols, obviously, we need to follow, of course, like everyone. Mm-hmm. But I have the freedom to coach at free will to what I feel our athletes need to do.
Nice.
And working at universities and stuff like that, it gets a little gray when you deal with that stuff. Mm-hmm. Here, and just the variety. I get to deal with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, all the way up to college and pro guys.
Yeah.
When we had our grand opening a couple weeks ago, CJ came up and he came in at 10 a.m. that day. And he lifted with the 10 a.m. session. And the kids thought it was so cool, And then I told some of the kids later, and they're like, oh, man, you should have told me. I'm like, well, you should have woke up then,
see what you're missing?
Don't sleep in till noon and roll over here.
Yeah.
But this is it. Like, down the road, eventually, I would love to dabble into an ownership as well, too. It's not a matter of if, that's a matter of when. But this is it. Like, I'm not moving or leaving at all anytime soon until my body tells me I can't do it anymore, right? That's going to happen at some point.
Yeah.
This is it, guys. This is where I want to be. So
that's so cool. Thanks for sitting down and doing this with us. And anybody listening that's interested, athlete, parent, social media, you're on Facebook, Instagram.
Yep. Anything ETS Duluth related, you talk directly to me. So Instagram, ETS Duluth, Facebook, ETS Duluth. Our email is really simple. It's just duluth@etsperformance.com. You can go to our website, etsperformance.com, go to locations, hit Duluth. You have availability to book evals right on there. You can call our gym correctly if you have more questions, but anything Duluth related, you are talking directly to myself. So again, like we said previously, that first step, no matter what, is we schedule that eval, and that is completely free. Eval is free of charge. Get you in the gym, get you to see what we are, sit down, get to meet you guys, and then we kind of see, what route we can go. It works best for you.
Awesome.
Bonus question.
Uh-oh.
If there's one skill you have, and we're going to call it your superpower.
Yep.
What is it that makes you so successful and motivated to be the best?
I would say, I have to sum it up into one word. I'll just briefly describe it, kind of like what we talked about. It's the ability to actually care. Like, we care. Like, I care about what's going on with these kids. I care about what happened at school. Like, the ability to take everything away and put these guys number one. I feel like they're all my kids. I don't think I have kids, but the ability to sit here and really know that you truly are a role model, and these kids actually, everything you say, everything you do, they're watching. They're sponges, and the first thing I tell my staff is watch your freaking mouth. Yeah. Like, don't swear around kids. Don't do it, okay? When the college kids are in here, okay, you might throw a word here and there. That's not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But these guys are sponges, right? Role model, do the little things. Don't screw around when we're training. Like, obviously have fun, but don't screw around. But the ability to actually prove to mom and dad and these kids that we are unique and uncommon. I don't want to tell you we are. That doesn't do anything. You gotta build trust, right? You gotta show you trust, not, hey, I really care about your son. Like, really, do you? Because I haven't seen anything yet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like what separates me is the ability to provide that to everybody. And it's tough, man. There's days where, I'm doing an eval and I get back to my phone, there's like 35 texts and I'm like, oh man, I gotta sit down. But I do it. Yeah. I respond, and I respond in a timely manner to make sure that, hey, this actually, we care. We want you guys to get whatever it is you need to do. And they remember that. And down the road, like I said earlier, I have kids from 6, 7, 8 years ago that I still talk to. Like, something that we did, like, hit home. Yeah. And they actually still talk to us. Hey, what do you think I should do for this? What do you think I should do for that? So the fact that you're asking me that is awesome. Like, you actually care, And we got kids that I trained in Michigan and whatnot, and they already said, hey, I'm going to be here this summer for 2 weeks. Can I come in and train? Heck yeah, you can. Like, that's awesome. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel like we're actually hitting home. Now, is every single athlete do that? No, but we treat everyone the same. Part of our 10 commandments, and I'm sorry, Ryan, but I can't recite all the 10 commandments that we have for ETS right now. In fact, they're hanging on the wall over there. But one of them is we treat every athlete equal. I don't care if one's an NFL player, one's an 11-year-old. We treat them all the same, and it should be like that for everybody. Yeah. It's just the ability to do that each and every day is what separates us. And I feel like I'm sure I'll come up with a word once we're done here, but that's my best way to phrase it there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Kyle, thank you. This is awesome. Super excited to get the word out. And yeah, I'm a believer. Yeah. So that's awesome.
Check it out, everyone. If you're in town or around, get over here and check it out.
Appreciate you guys having me. This is awesome. It was fun. And time flew by.
Yeah. Awesome.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.